You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is June 26, 2024 meeting of the Long Beach 2025 Budget Workshop. You can find more information for this workshop by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
So we are here for a budget workshop and pulling up who is first. Does anyone know? Community center is first. So hi, Joe. Oh, I'm pulling it up too. Thanks. Thank you.
So if you look at page 10 of your budget workbook packet, you'll find the community center listing. You'll see the far right column are the proposed numbers that Joe and the committee had sent in. The historical numbers that are off to the left. And one quick comment, at the end of June, which is in just a few days, I will update this to June end so that going forward, you can quickly just see if you double the expense that has been had so far, what the year may look like as you're evaluating some numbers moving forward. So the next copy will have that update done, and you'll see the column heading will reflect that as well. Today's intention then is to hear from the department heads and committee heads, talk about the values they submitted. I know we've been talking about trying to keep a level budget from 24 into 25 on our regular expenses, so there's room to discuss raises and things. But we still want to hear from the heads and the chairs and have some conversation on it. So Joe, unless anyone else has anything else before, I would defer the floor to you.
Yeah, I don't really know. Well, Doug is here too.
Very good.
Yeah. And so I submitted the numbers to you guys. And what are you looking for as iteration? What do you want? Because the other thing I have is that I also created for the year, I create a budget with the expenses that are on here, but also I create, which has the revenue. And because we're one of the few probably that have revenue because of the leasing out of the rooms and stuff. And what I have done in the past, and it's still this year, is that it's a budget that's balanced. My revenue and my expense are balanced up to the $86,000. So that's number one, or 88,704 is what I say the revenue hypothetically would be, and the expense is 88,700. So then on the expense level, if you look at it, that if you want to go through those, I don't know exactly what you'd like to do. I can go through and show you that the main issue, which you can see in the revenue, is the second item, gas and electric. That's the one that's 35,000, and then we have the ones. Well, this one, maybe I should bring this one up and ask you guys what you think. Now, then the second one is water. And the issue with water is that now for the summer, we have the different gardeners and different organizations where all these people are using the water. And like I say, it's fine. It's on there, but like I said, I'm just wondering if maybe that belongs someplace else as an expense instead of the community center, because the water just happens to be at the community center. And I guess the flowers and everything else, maybe. I think it does. I think all the, and that's fine if we want to do that, but just so you understand because the water goes up almost double. I don't know, Doug, if you, almost double for the summer months.
Right.
And just so you know that, because we've gone over that, so.
Doesn't every department pay a portion of the loan?
It doesn't, we don't get any credit for it. So we,
I mean, like Parks pays for the water.
Right.
Everybody pays for water, so it's divvied up equally between all, or wherever the water bill is.
I think we have, is that how it is, or don't we have a separate water bill?
Joe is probably unique with the community center being building. So he is probably correct about this line item potentially.
Yeah, but, and like I said, it's not a big issue, so I'm trying not to make that, I don't want to make it a big issue. But I just wanted you to realize, you know, just so you see it, that you'll see it, because we did it one time and we've got it down pat, for all of a sudden, we had a leak. And then the water was really high, and then we worked with the water department and we communicate back and forth. So the water, hopefully, that we're using now.
So Joe, this is just for my clarification. When you're saying your expenses are covered by your rent up to that $70,000 number, that's like the YMCA rent and all the other ones cover this whole budget?
Here, I'll read you, I mean, I have it right in front of me.
No, I just confirmed it. So yeah, that's just for my knowledge.
Cheap is
Okay.
like a yes or no, so you're saying all the rent monies cover your expenses.
I don't want to say,
Aside from cap.
I don't want to say all of it, but, about 80,000 is pretty much rent month, and we haven't evaluated yet whether we're gonna increase the rent for next year. And then the other items that we have is where we do, extra renting out different offices and stuff like that.
Okay.
But anyway, and I can share that with you.
No, I can see it in the budget. I just need to look at it better. Okay, so that's water.
So for the most part, the expenses that you've proposed for 25 are about the same. What about the capital project list? Last year during budget, you gave us the capital list that you had. Do you expect that list is still viable? Did I miss one in an email maybe for this year?
I didn't review the capital right now, but I probably have it by heart. We've been running or asking, let me do that. We've been asking for capital, running about 130 or 140.
Yes, and that number is in place.
Yeah.
I just wondered if there was any drastic change to your list of planned projects.
Oh, for the 140? Yeah, I think we've been evaluating, and Doug can mention things if you want to hear special things, but we've been evaluating the things we have to do, and we can easily, go through our capital budget. And what happened just recently, which was good, that we got approval for one heat pump, and it all depends on what stage or what procedure we go through. There's 23 heat pumps that are probably, 25 years old. And what we'd like to start doing is, replacing and stuff like that. So yes, for the capital budget, we do have a lot of projects we're working on, fixing up the bathroom, which would be for the wheelchairs and stuff like that. And there's a lot of different activities. So.
Okay, sounds good. Doug, do you have anything to add?
No, just there.
Does anyone else have any questions?
We need to discuss the insurance, which the building's, insurance went up substantially because it was. So we need to look at the budget that's going forward for next year in there.
And we can do that later, Trista, with Mac.
So the budget on the insurance line should increase.
So you're saying the insurance is gonna be higher,
Correct.
substantial?
Yes.
Yeah.
Meg, part of the change with the insurance is the assessed value of the building was originally, I believe, around $1.6 million. And when they took the replacement cost, at the current rate for square foot replacement cost times the square footage of that building, the assessed value went up over $6 million. So therefore, the annual insurance substantially went up. As you know, we have a claim for hail damage on the roof as well. Around $130,000 that claim is. So even if we were not to make the claim for the hail damage, the insurance company said that across industry standards, we could see a 7 to 12% increase in the insurance policy for next year. As I shared with you the other day, I've also reached out to another local insurance company to have them quote all of the town's policies to see if we're being competitive, to do a comparison, and hope to have those numbers to you in the next couple of months.
Thanks, Mark. Anything else on community center? Okay.
So Park was planned next, I think.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have a good day. Yep.
Maybe the park is on page 14 and 15, which ones? Thank you.
So our board did not meet until last night since we began this process. So we discussed a few things and again, this updated version. Yeah, I most of you on it, but I knew we were doing some. So the first page is the overall budget, and most of that is unchanged. A few of the notable changes in some of the areas where it seemed like just inflation, things that are costs to us that would be subject to inflation. I increased those by a little bit, 3 to 5%. And then we did increase the wages for the summer program on the second page. The summer program counselors and directors wages. So after a conversation with Sarah, it sounds like we're not really in a competitive place where we're paying those counselors and directors. So we'd like to be able to pay a more competitive wage so that we don't lose them. So the rest of that is fairly unchanged. On the second sheet is the.
So I'm sorry, can I ask for a moment then?
Yeah.
What hourly rate are you looking to change to?
It was going up basically $2 an hour for each. So I want to say it was 18 and 14 from 12 and 16.
Thank you.
I have the exact numbers, but I don't remember them exactly. So I believe that's what it was, from 12 and 14 to 12 and 16 to 14 and 18.
Thank you.
Which worked out to be about a $33 or $4,000 difference. They wanted to be at a higher level, but I think this represents like a 15% increase, and where they want to be is like a 23% increase, which seems like a lot for 1 year. So I'm trying to, we'll see how it goes. I did ask what the number of applicants were versus how many people were accepted, right? Are we fighting to get people, or if there's people clamoring to be in spots, then maybe the wages are about right. So it sounds like they're taking about 60% of the people that applied. So there are, arguably, you want to take the best people, right? And being able to have a more competitive wage lets you get the best people, which, I think everybody agrees that it's important for the community to have those camp people be really good. So that's the reason for that.
Thank you.
One other item was tree maintenance. We had $10,000 last year for tree maintenance because there were some big tree issues at one of the stops we were working on. That has been resolved, so I lowered it by 5,000, but it brought up in our meeting last night, the bigger question of, is the Parks Department in charge of all tree maintenance, or should this just be, it shouldn't just be one big tree budget for everything, or should it, should it be separate for the parks? You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
Trista, as you know, the original budget, I think in 2023 was $20,000 for tree maintenance. For 2024, for this year, we increased it to 50,000, and we are addressing the majority of the town trees and trees at the stops, the parks, and that with the $50,000. So I feel comfortable operating with the $50,000 annually, but I'll just throw that out for discussion.
Yeah, personally, I guess I'm not super familiar with, how the responsibility has been allocated in the past. If there's been the practice that the park board is responsible for the trees within the park properties, and then the town is responsible for the trees in the rights of way and that kind of thing, then some division of the budget would be sensical. If that's not the case and, the park board isn't responsible for the trees within the park property, then all of it would be on the town side. So I guess, that question would answer the rest of the questions.
Yeah. I mean, with the tax levy, if it would help to leave 10,000 on, their behalf on parks, then we could potentially reduce the tree budget for the town to 40,000. If we see that, when the advertised budget comes back, we got to start some cuts here and there, we could cut, that's one of the areas we could cut 10,000 from.
Mhm.
Yeah, in my mind, we don't have any plans to do anything next year with trees, so at a minimum, we can cut it in half and probably.
So do you have a little bit of emergency for some limbs or
You
something?
never know what might happen, but in the past, we knew there were specific issues we had to resolve. Some bad trees, but that's passed, so. Yes,
Okay.
on the capital items. Coming from small to biggest here, Melrose Park, there's a sign in the parking lot that is kind of old and dilapidated, so we just want to refresh that. In a number of places around town, we discussed this last night, there are some, I wouldn't call them parks, but places where,
Junior White Memorial.
yes, and what I call the dog park, which is not a dog park. Yes, but there's a picnic table like that in the middle of the open green, which is cool. And talking to Sarah last night, she said her dad used to gather those up every winter and store them and then put them back out someplace in summer. That hasn't been happening, and they're all kind of rotten and not appetizing. I don't think anybody uses them because they're in pretty bad shape. So at a minimum, we should probably get rid of them if they're in bad shape or replace them. So just a quick research showed you get 3 of them at $1,500 for $4,500, and put in it would be a steel powder coated steel picnic table, so it would last longer, hopefully. So and that's a good question, I guess. Would people use those if they were nice and there's a place to go hang out? Or
I literally talked to Dale Maher about that the other day. She lives right across the street, and she said it used to be a beautiful park there, the one in Somerset. Because I think Brian Canyon used to take care of it. And
Is that area?
Fairyland, yeah, I call it the other one, or I call it dog park, just because it was like, maybe one day we'll have a dog park there. So Fairyland, Joy told me is the right name. And she said that picnic table's been there for years, but now because it's old and, she said sometimes people hang out there, but would anybody use a picnic table there? I don't know. Joy, what do you know about Fairyland?
We all use it for sledding,
Okay,
meeting our kids for fights.
okay, well,
We used it when it had teeter totters.
It used to have a playground.
yes.
They had some issues, they were worried about insurance. the condition of the old playground equipment and teeter totter and some other stuff, they ripped all that out, fixed the insurance liability. So it had that playground equipment for 15 years.
So is that an option to do something there, or now that we have Melrose Park and the community center, just stay away from any playground equipment and,
I think the residents did not like it.
okay.
Residents that live on their understanding, they didn't like playground equipment.
And so we may not even maybe have time to help get rid of the picnic table and just leave it at that.
Yeah, so, and that was my thought, either get rid of it or make it nice, but the way it is now, it's, at some point, it's a liability, if someone's gonna sit on it, it's gonna break, and that won't be good. Let's see, stop 30 steps. The beach has washed out under the steps, stop 30, so there's about a 3-foot drop. So we put this in here to potentially extend the steps down to get to where the beach is now. That's, a lot of that's up to Mother Nature. It could come back, but as of now, it's not. Tennis and pickleball court replacement plan. So this year we are repairing and resealing the tennis courts as they are. That's about a 3-year repair. And what we would like to do is reorganize that whole area. What we've heard from the guys that are redoing that is it really just needs to be redone. Of course, they have a vested interest. But what we looked at is we may be able to get more resources in that area. We may be able to add 2 additional pickleball courts in addition to the tennis courts by rearranging the way that works. So that's going to be a really big expense, probably $200,000 or more. So before we even get to that, what we'd like to do for next year is hire someone who's an expert at this, come up with an actual architectural plan, how it could work, and get a more definite cost of exactly what it's going to cost. And then we can worry about how we're going to fund that in the future. So that probably doesn't qualify as a capital improvement item. But this list is really kind of everything that's not part of the.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to list that there. It's important to keep the planning expenses, architect, engineering in the capital plan sphere.
Okay.
So that we don't end up with things separated and forgotten. Quick question, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, and I understand this is not a guarantee, but as we will be talking about the overall capital plan moving forward, and we have already talked about the tennis pickleball court being in the future capital plan, you've noted the expense of it. Do you have any expectation that at least a portion may be able to be raised in donation?
We have not talked about that. I would imagine, of course, for sure. Sure.
Thank you.
I mean, it's going to be a longer term item, so we have some time to
Yes,
plan that.
for sure.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Stop 21, dune grass. There was dune grass planted there when that stop was redone. According to our landscaper, it's not taking because the fill in there right to the left of the steps is not clean. They want to put some clean fill in there, clean sand, and retry the dune grass to make it grow. So that's what that is. If we don't do that, then that sand's just going to wash out. Stop 24 design plan, similar to the pickleball courts. Stop 24. I don't know when that was redone. I'm sure people here were around back when that was done, but some of it's designed with railroad timbers, and some of them are starting to bulge out. And at some point, that's going to need to be redone with either new lumber or stone wall or something. And since that is a very visible stop, we want to make sure we do that the right way and incorporate all of the new things we've been talking about for the path going down and redo that in a nice way. So similarly, to make sure we understand what that would be and what the cost would be, we wanted to put some money in for next year to hire an architect to come up with a plan for that. Stop 29, we have some work to do there because we've talked about the encroachment of the neighboring property on the trees. So we're going to put in a fence. Obviously, we're getting those trees out now, but with the new fence and landscaping, there's going to be some additional expenses for that. Stop 29. And then community center playground shade sale. There apparently used to be a tree that would block a lot of the playground equipment. That tree is now gone. We had one request from residents to add something for shade there. We brought it up last night. We talked to Sarah, because one request from resident is a good data point, but we wanted to find out from her, and she said, yes, it does get hot in the middle of the day, and it is hard for the kids, the stuff just gets physically hot. So they would love to have a shade sail there. Those are way more expensive than I thought they would be. The device alone could be $25,000 plus installation, and then there's ongoing maintenance. You have to take it down in the winter, maintains it. So, they would like to have that. I think it would be great for the kids, that camp in the summer, but again, it's a large item, so.
I had a quick question about that. There are shade sales that are less than that, I know Janice Brown, was she at the meeting last night? Did she talk about shade sales that we looked at that were Joan Freddy's? Because they're not as substantial, and maybe we could do a couple of posts and put some shade sails up. We went and looked. We don't want to add, put any screws or anything into the building, of course. But is that a possibility within the budget? I know she was did she talk about that last night at all, about
She did not, but we'd definitely be open to that. Yeah, all we looked at was sort of like, commercial, like.
right,
School,
yeah.
elementary school type of things with, giant substantial posts, and yeah, if we could do something less expensively, of course.
Okay, so I'll talk to her about that, and maybe there would be something at least through the summer. Because I know that when you talk to people about it, they say, oh yeah, you can't go to the park after, 11 o'clock because all the benches. So thank you for looking into it.
Yep. And that's the end of the capital items. Any other questions?
Could I ask you a question, a little side? I see all the stops that you're talking about. Does the park board get involved at all in stop 31?
Stop 31?
Yes.
If it's a Long Beach stop, then yes.
Well, that's a concept. Yeah, it's in Long Beach,
Okay.
but
Yeah, I'm new here, so I haven't memorized the stops
okay. Thank you.
yet. You bet.
Paul is one of the newest town committee members, especially to the park board. Thank you for everything you've been doing. You are very attentive. He pays the bills for the park department. Anything I've needed, I've reached out to Paul. He's been exceptional to work with. So thank you for everything that you're doing while volunteering to the town. So thank you.
Thanks.
Next on the agenda, we've got the building department. Larry, thank you. So we're going to numerical page 5 of the spreadsheet. But we also will refer to the stormwater, which is at the very end.
Right, sure. Yeah.
We'll share.
Yeah, we're good.
We've seen it.
No.
We're good.
Yes.
So a quick bit of information before Larry starts. The sheet that he handed to you is what he presented to us, which is a near spreadsheet. The building department has traditionally been in the general fund, which is on page 5 numerically of your workbook. And then MS4 and floodplain, I'll let Larry explain a little bit of that, but that is a newer requirement for some state guidelines, basically. And for this year, 2024, the MS4 values, and you'll see presently assigned as well for 25 on page 21 of your workbook in the stormwater fund. I can explain later on why those have settled there. the floodplain management we had discussed last year, but I don't know that we actually put budget numbers in for the floodplain management, but there is a need for that. And we'll have to discuss about which revenue should cover that kind of expense, and I'll let Larry explain those details.
Okay, thanks for having me. This is pretty similar to last year. The administrator that's actually on her, I have her in at 34 hours a week. Mark and I have talked on numerous occasions that Mark, you might have to help me here. I think the overall limit on her hours was 30 hours a week. So what happens is if she's not here, then Deanna picks up the whatever activity happens during the day. Or Meg, you probably know more about that. So there's, between the building department and the MS4, I tried to make it I didn't try, I made it a 40-hour weeks for somebody. Between those two positions, you'll see administrator at 34 under building department, and then 6 hours a week under MS4 management. Get into that we go. The building inspector, he's actually, I think same thing, he's less than 30 hours a week. The building commissioner, and that's me, 30 hours a week there. The town attorney, I looked and it doesn't seem like we use that much. I know you guys have the budget in front of you. I don't know what it comes out to be, but I think you do charge some to the building commission when he's here.
Yeah, so far for the end of May, it was $6,700.
Okay.
So he breaks it out by meetings that he attends or calls with you, for example, and we get separate bills for each area.
The capital equipment is, Mark gave our building inspector, one of the retired police officers, computers and a printer. When we go online with the software, this iWork software, everything will be done remotely. Inspections will be logged remotely. Tickets, citations will be done remotely. So I left that in there for anything that may need to be done. The contracted engineering services. We really don't, if we have contracted engineering services, it's in our ordinance that we can charge. So what that would mean, unless it's changed, the town engineer is considered to be HAAS associate. So anytime we have a job that requires something that either is too voluminous and takes too much in other words, the town doesn't want to pay me to do it, then that burden, we go to HAAS, and HAAS reviews it. One project in particular was the Captain's Walk project, the 20,000 square foot house. That project, I'm not sure if I remember correctly. I don't know, Meg, if you would know, or Joe, if you would recall. I think that was almost $20,000 in engineering fees. But by ordinance, we can charge the applicant for that. So I don't really know that I don't know what you budgeted before, and I doubt we spent any of it. Office supplies, that's just what Honor uses, paper, copy machine time, that type of thing. Dues and subscriptions, we belong to, there's two line items for ICC, which is the International Code Council. This coming year, every year, it's a $700 subscription to belong to, or dues to belong to the organization. And what that organization does is provides us with access to all the current codes that we use electronically. So that's the dues. That underneath there, the last line, you'll see an International Code Council subscription. That's every 2 years. for the actual digital subscription. The dues are for the organization itself. Education certifications, there are, we haven't used any of that in the last couple of years. I don't really anticipate using it. I left it in there. I'm sure you guys are gonna chat me up somewhere. Software fees, iWorks, that's a $7,500 payment that's due every year. And, I just put $500 in there. I don't think we've used any other computer software. I don't know if you have upgrades or whatever you're gonna do with, the general ledger. Aren't you gonna change that or something? So I don't know if that requires anything on our part.
We need a way to collect fees.
Right.
So that's what I'm working on. I was looking at another software that I don't think is gonna be the right fit anytime soon. It would be a total switch again. And it would be going back to server-based instead of cloud. So I just had a call. I'm gonna actually get some pricing, and that would potentially then be working with Horizon, since you
Right.
guys already purchased this software. So,
And for those that aren't familiar with it, when we went to the software, they gave us two providers. One was Payrock, and I can't think of what the other one was. Payrock was the least offensive or the most economical, let's put it that way. And so we brought that to Meg, and I think Meg, you went over it and then went to the bank, and the bank said, you guys are getting hosed. So, right, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah, so,
we can do something like that through Horizon, but the bigger picture is how we manage it in our system.
Right.
So that's what needs to,
so when we go over to this iWorks software, which will be within the next couple of months, we're trying to get Carter up to speed on training. Everybody, all the permits that are applied for will be done online. And we think, as the building department, think it would be easier to pay those through the internet or when you're applying. But the town isn't ready for that. So what we're gonna do is everything is gonna be just paid still like it was, cash or check. And believe it or not, people still
right, but
pay their fees by
I'm
cash.
actually in time for the budget. I'm going to be getting a proposal through our
Okay.
current software for online billing, which could include drop downs for something like permits and,
So that was what the other $500 was for. The cell phone for the building inspector, I don't know what it is. I just threw in $50. I'm assuming that's about what it is. And then again, the International Code Council every 2 years is our digital code subscription. Under MS form management, that's the other 6 hours for someone in the town center to be able to take calls, relay information, and or bring to my attention. The consultant, historically, Reggie Corthals was the consultant for MS4. She's changed positions. She dropped a contract off of my office about a week and a half ago. And it was not to exceed $40,000. And I told her that wasn't gonna fly. Tom Dolph and I do heavy lifting on the MS4 stuff. Reggie she's been fantastic. She helps me out a lot. She helped Tom out. She got us through the initial permit. Our permit is a 5-year permit. And it may be that at the end of 5 years, which would be into 27, we may have to have her back, but I don't think that we're gonna need her at the tune of $40,000. I put in there 6 hours a week at $40. It's the $12,000. Her previous contract was a not to exceed $18,000. I don't know how much of that she used.
well, how is she paid? Like how,
Did you guys,
I need to
Her
find that.
previous employer had billed us for
So let me see.
what's John's name?
Big law of fair about server.
So her previous
Law of fair and secret, that's her prior. to-
Okay. Well,
So, I mean, the town paid, I know that the town paid for
right,
it, but I don't know what you guys want to do. I don't know if that's something more for the building commission to discuss, but I don't think signing a $40,000 contract is correct. I just don't think that that's necessary.
Larry, very quickly in 23, approximately maybe 11,000 during that year
To Butler Fair.
to Butler Fairman.
Okay. So I would think that that's, at that rate, that's around the 12. So what did you say, 11,000?
10.5 to 11.
Okay, so I think that that should probably be what we should allot for the future.
The 12 was a good estimate, yeah.
Keep in mind that was the first year we got everything put together. I would hope it would be to that.
Be less, yeah.
Right, that was the most work. And we didn't have, there was nobody, Tom has done a fantastic job taking care of the outfalls, but we didn't have an MS4 coordinator because it actually wasn't required until this permit came through.
Is she willing to stay on for?
She is, I tried to talk her into just working for the town direct as Reggie. And that's why I put the $40 in there. And then she went to work for this other company by the name OHM. And just like Butler Fairman, they're gonna want to charge probably $150 an hour for the time. She is valuable. We will need her over time. I would recommend signing a not to exceed $40,000 contract. The MS4 coordinator, that is me. I don't know, it's hard to say. The MS4 situation comes up, we do inspections ourselves. I'm certified as a state and federal inspector for the MS4 permit. And I do inspections on construction sites every week. That just basically brings my hours up. The education certification, same thing, MS4, and I may have this incorrect, I think it's 12 or 14 hours a year. You know, we're required to, most of the time we're required to perform or complete those hours every year. Most of the time, I can do them on webinars. They're starting to get to the point where they make us go to meetings, but we haven't had to pay for a meeting yet, but I did put some money in there just in case they start. The floodplain management, same thing. I am what's called the floodplain manager, pardon me. And the education underneath there, the federal government has required that all floodplain managers complete what is called a CFM, which is a certified floodplain manager certification. And we have to do that by 2025. I have no idea because they haven't scheduled the training yet, but there will be some cost involved. When I went through the MS4 certification a couple of years ago, it was $1,000. I don't know what the education requirement is going to be as far as cost. So we need to have something in there. I just can't tell you what it is. I put in $2,500 because that's a number that came in my head. Dues, that is the Indiana Association of Floodplain Managers and the American Association of Floodplain Managers. Both, we're not required to be in both, but the Indiana, the reason I signed up for both this past year was because of the certification. Indiana Association of Floodplain Managers does not have the training. The American Association of Floodplain Managers, which is basically over the Indiana Association, belongs to the American. The American is most likely who will offer the training. And once that training's done, we can probably just stick with the Indiana. That's my story.
Talk to me for us a moment, please, about the hourly rate for administrator and building inspector. Are those different than this year?
Mark, can you help me out here? What do we pay Carter? I should know this. Is it $29.90? I think.
$29.99.
So he's at 30.
Okay,
The administrator, I think, is 120.
I believe it's like 1995.
So I assume that you guys give raises every year to people. So I put $22. I don't know what I don't know if you do cost of living or if that's just an automatic that's in people's
it
contracts.
depends on the budget, what's left available.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I just
Sure.
wanted to be, clear and make sure that we knew, if that was the current rate or.
No, it's the current rate for the building inspector.
Yeah.
Honors rate is Mark said, it's 1999 or whatever it is.
Okay, thank you.
Tristan, one question I had on our worksheet on page 5 under rent. Adopted in 2024, we had $12,000, and I believe that's the rent that was kind of paid for the room 3 at the community center, but we don't have anything entered for 2025. I was just curious on that. And speaking to Larry, moving into the future, we may be freeing up room 3 for usable space at the community center for potentially additional renters there, because we're just using that for storage now, and I'll let Larry speak on that.
Well, I can say, I think Joe's been in the room because Joe was part of the group over there. Nobody else on the building commission has probably been in that room in, I would say, 2 years. We meet back here and, our records, most all of our records are electronic now. Every time something comes in, Honor scans it. I know there's some paperwork involved. I don't know where you guys store that. I'm assuming downstairs. But if necessary, we could, go through and take all that stuff out because we don't use it. As a building commission, we don't use it.
So Marcus, the cell is not populated in your worksheet because it was not on Larry's list.
Okay.
The column that you have, but for some of the other random funds where you and Meg and I had talked about me adding some numbers in. Just the department ones are populated solely by what they provided to us. So that's why it's empty.
Okay.
But yes, I do hope that by the time this budget process is done, we have an answer on whether the building commission needs to continue to use it or whether we can free it up for them to rent to someone else. So,
We don't need
okay.
it because we don't use it.
Just for, what's in there now, and this is an issue that we should look into, which Larry's bringing up, is how much of the paperwork should we be saving? That's the issue we gotta find out with the building permit applications and with the registrations, et cetera. Because that room has all of the previous 9 years of all the building permit application are there in that room.
So you think 9 years because that's how long you've been
Yes,
keeping them?
yes, that's since Larry.
9 years is about when I started and we used to change. And not to beat up on anything that happened in the past, but the building commission really didn't function this way in the past. It was kind of a haphazard thing. So when we started, we meet every month. We require drawings and what have you. Now we require, since the last, I would have to look, but I think in the last year, we require all drawings to come on PDFs. We do require hard copies just because some people like them. But what will happen when we go to the software, everything will be electronic. There will be paper copies, mainly just for the convenience for people on the building commission. But for the last probably year and a half to 2 years, everything is electronic.
But
So there are some
just so we
statutes about storage retention, and so